Please, Dr. Johnson, help my husband. He's all we have. His blood sugar was through the roof. He is in a diabetes-induced coma because of his dangerously high blood sugar. Let's pray he wakes up from this. And there's something else, madam. We will need to amputate his leg to get his blood sugar under control. That's about the best we can do for him right now. You should continue praying, madam. You see, it's hard to believe that was me, Tunde, just 3 years ago. See, type 2 diabetes has tortured me, left me devastated, and terrorized my family. Diabetes made me a slave to several medications and emptied my bank account. It pushed me into a deadly diabetic coma for 2 days. A coma not the doctors, my family, or anyone thought I would ever wake up from. And when I did, they told me I would have my legs amputated in the next few weeks. But by the grace of God, my case never got to needing amputation. As my leg and my life were saved by what happened next, I would always thank God forever for this miracle. Even though diabetes almost sent me to an early grave, what happened next completely changed the course of my life. I'm only here to tell you the story because I was lucky to survive. I reversed my type 2 diabetes, and you too can. After my short incident with type 2 diabetes induced coma, I went on to discover the true cause of type 2 diabetes, and I promise you, it's not what you think. Forget what they told you when they say diabetes is caused by your genetics or family history. Your age, your weight, lack of exercise or eating, or too much sugar. The truth, according to top universities and medical institutes in the world, is that diabetes is caused by one tiny group of small protein derivatives in our body that makes it impossible for the body to absorb sugar normally. Now take a look at this. This protein derivative causes the toxic fat cells to stick to your sugar absorbing cells, making it difficult for them to absorb sugar for effective body functions. I know this sounds a little complicated, but just stay with me for the next few minutes of this short video because I'm going to reveal exactly how to target the root cause of type 2 diabetes with nothing but only a bunch of natural shrubs nature has given us. I will expose the clever trap the big powers in the diabetes industry have set up to hide this information and trick you, me, and over 15 million other diabetics in Nigeria to keep taking their medications for the rest of our lives. And I'm also going to share the exact combination of these natural shrubs that helped me reverse my type 2 diabetes, lose almost 40 pounds of ugly fat around my belly, thighs and arms, and amaze my friends and family. Anybody can use this method to reverse their type 2 diabetes. No matter if you're 40, 60, 70, or even 80 years of age, man or woman. It doesn't matter if you ever had diabetes or if you've had diabetes for 10 years or only 10 weeks. I guarantee you that you can safely use this method to completely reverse your type 2 diabetes and start living your best life again. All of this, I know, sounds like a lot of promises that you might have heard before, but you should hear from people who have used what I'm going to share with you to reverse their type 2 diabetes too. Mrs. Salam Adegboyeka sent me an email and said, "Your video has made a remarkable difference in my life. My blood sugar level is now under 120. I have more energy than ever and I have been able to finally lose the weight and keep it up for good. Now I'm able to eat all I want without fears of spiking my blood sugar or putting unnecessary pressure on my family." Mr. Danladi also chipped in with his testimonial where he said, "Tunde, my blood sugar dropped from 8.9 to 6.0 incredibly fast. Frequent urination stopped to 2 to 3 times a day. My sexual life has improved greatly and I'm super confident. This transformed my life and saved me lots of money on medicines." 63-year-old Mr. Martins watched the first version of this video, implemented and said, I used to suffer from serious burning feelings in my legs, especially at night. My doc said it's neuropathy. Used several medications without any difference. I noticed a great difference following what you shared. In the very first month, my blood sugar has also dropped from 8.3 to 5.6. A police officer, Corporal Edward, also wrote back to me and said, "This totally shocked me, honestly. My blood sugar level is now 7.2 from 8.2. Frequent urination has also stopped, and my performance with my wife has greatly improved." I was honestly very skeptical to try this method at first, but facing a life or death situation left me with no choice but to try it out. And now I'm completely free from diabetes and I've started rebuilding my life again. I now have the energy to play with my grandchildren. The tingling in my hands and feet have all disappeared, and most of all, I would never have to take all of these dangerous medications ever again. I'm also going to share a simple test that shows that you may be closer to a diabetic coma like the one I had. You see, we've been brainwashed by the big diabetes industry to think we will be fine once we take our diabetes medication. Nobody thinks their condition could lead to an amputation, drop into a diabetic coma like I did, or go blind forever. But that's what diabetes does to people like us. Doctors won't tell you the truth about how dangerous diabetes can be because they don't want to give us a lot of worries. But it still doesn't change the fact that diabetes is a big killer disease. Did you know that 1 in every 6 diabetic patients falls into a deadly coma like I did? And did you know that 1 in 4 diabetics eventually have their legs amputated? What about blindness? Type 2 diabetes accounts for about 4 in every 10 cases of blindness in adults. More of us fall victims to the conspiracy of the big diabetes industry each day. You see, diabetes can lead to several other life-threatening conditions like stroke, heart attack, kidney failure, and even memory failure known as dementia, where you forget everything about who you are and your family members. My discovery revealed much worse than my doctor has ever told me about diabetes, and I'll share all of them with you in the next few minutes. Now, I feel I should tell you a bit more about myself. My name is Tunde Adeoye. I'm 63 years old. I have 3 grown-up children who have since moved out. The first 2 have started their own families, and my last child just finished NYSC. My problem with type 2 diabetes started in my early 50s. I started noticing some unusual symptoms. I suddenly developed this uncontrollable craving for soft drinks, snacks, and other sweet foods, I would often feel very thirsty and unable to focus at work. I thought it was because of stress at work, but I was caught off guard when my doctor's test said otherwise. I was diagnosed as diabetic with a blood sugar level of 208. Since I knew almost nothing about the disease, I trusted I was in good hands with my doctor. He quickly gave me a long list of medications, which includes the popular metformin doctors recommend. He wrote me a list of foods to avoid to regulate my erratic blood sugar. He told me the drugs would help me manage the disease and continue living normally. But he was completely wrong. Little did I know that would mark the beginning of a decade-long struggle with diabetes. My sugar level became more erratic. The tingling in my legs got worse. I craved sweet food uncontrollably. I'm embarrassed to admit it. I found it hard to have sex with my wife. I continued to pack on more and more pounds of fat. In fact, blood pressure would go up, and the nerve pains wouldn't go easy on me either. There was a time he upgraded my medication to metformin glyburide, but this only came with another set of problems such as a bloating, headache, tiredness, and muscle aches. I was on this unending roller coaster of troubles until life smacked me hard in the face. I collapsed in the bathroom one Sunday morning while preparing for church. The loud bang I made echoed through the house, and that was the last thing I remembered. The next thing I remembered was waking up on a hospital bed, covered in a white sheet with a tiny torch shining light into my eyes, and my head with blood-drenched plaster. I saw my wife and children gathered around me with teary eyes. I couldn't even believe what had happened to me. My leg amputation was scheduled for 16 weeks, and there was nothing I could do about it, according to my doctor. Not even insulin would save me this time around. My blood sugar was at a dangerous 496 when I was brought in. I got home thinking how miserable my life would become with one of my legs chopped off. I would be tied to a wheelchair for the rest of my life. My wife would have to bath me, clothe me, and do everything for me. When my grandchildren come around, they would meet their grandpa getting rolled about in a wheelchair, and I would lose my freedom totally. I would never be able to support my family financially again because there was no way I would be able to work. This is not how I plan to live out the rest of my days. That was the darkest moment of my life. I'm not even going to deny that. But then, I don't know how it happened. I stopped feeling sorry for myself and decided to take matters into my own hands. If there was a way anywhere to reverse type 2 diabetes, I would look for it while I still have my 2 legs. And I would get my hands on it even if it means selling my 3 cars, spending all my savings and maybe even getting a loan. My wife tried to convince me that it was too late and we should just give up. But I was just too stubborn to listen to what she or anyone else was saying. If I only had a few weeks before I lose one leg, I might as well spend all of those precious weeks looking for a solution. This solution doesn't even have to be something my doctor agrees with. I realized it was completely stupid to stick with his suggestion forever. His advice brought me in contact with a diabetic coma, which I luckily survived. Now I was faced with an amputation coming up in the next 4 months. I was never going down without a fight. I got to work like a madman and utilized all of the weeks off work that I got at my workplace. I spent several hours each day researching diabetes on the internet and talking to everyone I could talk to. I opened a lot of medical journals, libraries, and websites I could find. That's when my eyes opened to the big lies of the diabetes industry. More than 15 million Nigerians have diabetes, and at least one diabetic dies every 6 seconds that pass. That's about 14,400 people dying every day from type 2 diabetes. And the most annoying part? Diabetes companies are making more money than they've ever made globally. Diabetes companies are making billions of dollars worldwide by bribing doctors to push these dangerous drugs to patients who don't even need them at all. In fact, some of these companies have been caught red-handed. USA diabetes patients sue Novo Nordisk, Sanofi, and Eli Lilly for alleged insulin price fisking. Sanofi to pay $25 million to settle corruption bribery charges. These guys are making lots of money by selling drugs and aids that flat out don't work. Isn't that wickedness? Rather than tell you about studies that reveal the great threat type 2 diabetes poses to your health, they'll prescribe drugs you should buy and tell you to move on. The more research I did, the angrier I got about the whole diabetes industry. For example, did you know that diabetes increases your risk of heart attack by 4 times that of the average person? Also, did you know that your risk of developing a stroke multiplied by 2 the first time you needed to use metformin? I bet you didn't. These are stuff the doctors are not allowed to talk about so they can protect their cash cows and keep their wallets full at the peril of millions of type 2 diabetes patients globally. They organize health seminars, sponsored by these people who are more interested in keeping us customers than helping us reverse type 2 diabetes. Is it any wonder why they don't tell the truth about these laboratory-made drugs and how dangerous they are? I have water in my eyes as I'm saying this. These big companies prey on the troubles of millions of people like us globally and make themselves richer in the process. But I'm happy to say all of that madness ends today, because I'm now going to share how I discovered the solution that helped me reverse my type 2 diabetes and saved me from a leg amputation that would have left me tied to an embarrassing wheelchair for life. After several weeks of finding the same tips my doctor has been recommending for years without any result, I finally had the breakthrough I was looking for. I was just scrolling on Facebook one night when I saw a post from a man who claimed to have reversed his diabetes following what an Indian doctor taught him. The doctors again? I didn't believe it. I thought it was just some fake, but the number of comments this man got was overwhelming. I reached out to him through Facebook Messenger, and it was there he told me about the Indian doctor that saved his life. He sent me before and after photos of himself and the weight he lost during his diabetes journey. He documented his blood sugar readings during that period and showed all of them to me. I was just so overwhelmed that I asked for the contact of the doctor he was talking about. I was still a bit skeptical at this point, but I just wanted to hear the doctor because I desperately wanted it to be true. I didn't want to lose my leg or develop a heart attack, stroke, or lose my eyesight. Well, that's what awaited me if I do not find the solution. So I got on the call, not knowing what to expect, but what I learned completely blew my mind. Dr. Viraj is an Indian who has spent his 72 years of existence living and practicing medicine across Japan, India, Germany, Singapore, and a few other countries. Dr. Viraj was a very bright, very clear, and very knowledgeable man. His works have earned him a number of national and international awards, and his story was quite interesting too. He never got to meet his mother. His father, the only parent he had, developed diabetes when he was in medical school. He saw how more diabetes ruined his father's life. The amount of money he was spending every week buying medications, the side effect of the drugs, weight gain, and feeling lack of energy at all times. It was painful for him to watch, and he made it his life's purpose to find a way to reverse type 2 diabetes for good. Dr. Viraj made me understand that the real cause of type 2 diabetes is not because of sugar, lack of exercise, or aging. I immediately got hooked because he was the first person that would say anything different. Have you ever stopped to wonder why diabetes keeps increasing despite the fact that more and more people are avoiding sugar? He asked. People are trying desperately to fix their diabetes by reducing their carbohydrates, but they are all doing it wrong. This is because scientists have discovered that the real cause of type 2 diabetes is a toxic protein derivative flowing around in our bloodstreams. This toxic protein derivative forces fat cells to clog the insulin receptors in our body, making it impossible for our bodies to absorb and use glucose. I know this sounds a bit technical, but let me make it clearer. When we eat food, our body filters the carbohydrates and turns them into glucose, sugar. Then the pancreas in our body releases insulin once glucose is in our body. Insulin is the signal for the body to start absorbing sugar so we can produce energy. The body senses that insulin is available through the insulin receptors and begins absorbing sugar and starts transporting them to the organs where they are needed. Now, what this toxic protein derivative does is to wrap the insulin receptors with so much fat that they become inactive and cannot tell whether or not insulin is available again. Since the insulin receptors can't sense insulin again, they can't communicate with the body to start absorbing sugar for energy production. This is a condition known as insulin resistance, and I'm sure you have heard about it before. This is a diagram of what it represents. Insulin resistance causes sugar to remain in the blood unused for a very long time, and because our body doesn't absorb sugar for energy, we feel very tired. There's no sufficient power to transport blood to our essential organs, including the eyes, the brain, and the heart, which can lead to massive diabetes complications. So, is this starting to make any sense to you? I guess so, but we are still not done. Our body is a complete system, so it tries to force this excess sugar out of the bloodstream. The first way is that it converts sugar to glycogen, which stores itself as ugly layers of fat in the belly, thighs, back, arms, and other regions. And that's how being overweight comes into place. The second way of expelling sugar from the body is by urinating them out. This is why ants tend to flock to the urine of a diabetic patient. As you have just seen, packing on more and more fat is not the cause of diabetes. Diabetes actually caused it. And that explains why exercises and all haven't helped you reverse your diabetes yet. If the insulin receptors remain blocked, you will never be able to reverse your type 2 diabetes. No matter how hard you exercise, what you eat, or what drugs you buy. Every method your doctor asks you to try that doesn't unclog the insulin receptors is doomed to fail right from the start. As you have just seen, having diabetes is not your fault. It's not something you or I can control. It just happens. But the good news now is that there is a way to unclog your insulin receptors with fat so that then they start working normally again and your blood sugar level can go back to normal. You only have to add a couple of shrubs with active nutrients that target these toxic protein derivatives and remove its effect on the insulin receptors. These shrubs contain nutrients called phytochemicals that help neutralize the effect of this toxic protein derivative. The name of this toxic protein derivative is cytokines, specifically inflammatory cytokines. Okay, these phytochemicals are in different forms and can be found in different sources. You will find them in certain fruits and vegetables. Some of them can be found in foods like chives, grapes, cinnamons, and dark chocolates. Another set of phytochemicals you need is known as flavonoids, which you'll find in celery, parsley, and romaine lettuce. There is another category known as lignans, which you will find in squash and carrots. You will find others in many vegetables, some of which are very rare to find. Now, the key to reversing your diabetes with these phytochemicals is not just to get them and start eating them. You need to take them in a certain proportion to make it work. When you get these phytochemicals in the right proportion into your bloodstream, it creates a strong army in your body system that attacks these cytokines, thereby melting them away every pound of fat clogging your insulin receptors that have been causing diabetes. And also without exercise, you'll melt away pounds of ugly fat, lower your blood pressure, eliminate the numbness in your hands and feet, improve your cardiovascular health, and increase your vitality in general. Then Dr. Viraj showed me tons of clinical trials and research supporting his claim, just as I'm showing you. Now, 9 out of 10 people who took these phytochemicals in the proportion Dr. Viraj was proposed reported a drastic fall in their blood sugar, also melting the ugly pounds of fat they've held onto for long, and skyrocketing their performance in the bedroom with their wives. These were people from all walks of life, 30-year-old young adults and grandfathers and grandmothers in their 80s, people with new cases of type 2 diabetes, people who had had diabetes for more than 25 years, even a few people who are pre-diabetic. But then I threw a big question at Dr. Viraj. Why isn't anyone talking about this? And he replied saying, you can find all of these studies when you do a lot of research, but it will be extremely hard. The media would definitely not talk about them because they are being swept under by giant pharmaceutical companies who are only concerned they will lose billions if information like this leaks out. People will stop buying insulin injectors and glucose readers. No one would fall victim to continually buying overpriced and dangerous chemicals labeled as drugs for the rest of their lives. A lot of money would be lost in this process. And my friend, that is bad for business. Their business is continuity. When Dr. Viraj and a few other fearless doctors got tired of trying to persuade the medical community about the importance of phytochemicals for type 2 diabetic patients, they took matters into their own hands. Dr. Viraj and his medical friend left the foreign countries and returned to India, which is friendly to natural medicine. They set up a small company of their own which followed pure natural method of reversing type 2 diabetes. And they have a third-party company test their products for efficiency and safety. At this point, all my objections were crushed. He wasn't trying to lobby me into buying his formula or anything. He was just explaining what I was going through. and I now trust him to an extent. I asked him to send me some bottles of his formula to see if it would be any different. He rushed it to me with first-class shipping, and I had them within a week. I had some thoughts when I saw that it was also another pill. I just decided to give it a trial. It's quite easy to use. Simply pop one pill from the bottle in the morning and at night, and that's it. I slept well like a baby the first day I took it. But I wasn't sure if it was just a random effect or it's the work of the formula. So just 1 week later, my blood sugar was down from 397 to 281. The following week, I measured 255. 8 weeks into this formula, I was down to 160. I started recording below 120 on my 10th week or so. There were a few days in between when I recorded slightly higher than normal numbers, but everything vanished at the end of the third month. I began recording an average of 108 consistently, no matter what I ate or how little I exercised. The fat seems to be coming off faster than I imagined. I could literally see myself dropping pounds of fat every week without any special exercise. The trousers that I always struggled to button up now needed me to use a belt to hold them so they do not fall off. My energy level has started to soar, and my performance with my wife was now as strong as ever. I wasn't having anxiety when it came to time to do the husband and wife thing, The numbness in my hands and feet have pretty much disappeared too. I reversed my type 2 diabetes, and there hasn't been a side effect ever since. My doctor, surprised that I hadn't come in for my amputation, thought I was scared and placed a call through to us. I went to his office to tell him what I had gone through. He was surprised to see how leaner and healthier I had looked. He took my blood sugar reading and he was dumbfounded. I have never seen anyone lower blood sugar this fast in only a few weeks, he said. He told me there was no need for an amputation again because I was perfectly normal. I walked out of his office as a free man with the fitness level of a 35-year-old. Could you imagine your doctor telling you are free of diabetes? How wonderful would you feel? My wife and I hugged each other and cried with happiness. Suddenly, my whole life had been transformed. I would never have to take meds or prick my finger. I would never be a burden to my family and friends, or have nightmare about diabetic coma or limb amputations again. I could have a dream retirement with the energy to play with my wonderful grandchildren. I could go out to restaurants and parties and not have to worry about how tired I would get or what food I could eat. The pains have all disappeared and I could walk upright without tinglings. I was completely free from the bondage of type 2 diabetes. It was only a few weeks after I started living like a normal one that I realized it was my moral duty to share this formula with as many people as I can. But I needed to test it with some of the other diabetics I knew first. So I started sharing my story in small groups. My 62-year-old brother-in-law was the first person that tried Madhuhara after me. Even though he almost gave up when it seemed like nothing was happening the first week, he believed in me and kept on taking them as instructed. His blood sugar level is now between 4.2 and 6.4 in the first 6 weeks following this formula. He has gone to completely reverse his type 2 diabetes by the end of the third month. Then I shared this formula with a co-worker, Grace, who has just been battling type 2 diabetes for less than 2 years. Here's what she said. My whole life has changed. This supplement made a remarkable difference. My blood sugar level is normal. I have more energy than ever. Just last week, I gave out a lot of my usual clothes because they are now too big for me. Then my wife shared her story with her school principal, where she teaches. Mr. Tunji Balogun was reluctant at first because he had had his own share of the problem with diabetes drugs. But when we showed him my own blood sugar improvement over 3 weeks, then at 8 weeks, he agreed to try it out too. At the 7-day mark, he lowered his blood sugar from 181 to 143. It's almost like a temporary fix, he said. But 3 weeks after that, he was down to 119. Not only that, but he had shed 10 kg and felt wonderful. Lowered his blood pressure and even got his LDL cholesterol down. He was able to throw his meds and testing kits away for good. Then our pastor's friend tried it too. He was 75 and retired, and like a lot of men his age, he had developed type 2 diabetes too. He wasn't overweight or anything, he was just a skinny diabetic type. Within the first 4 weeks of trying out this formula, he wrote to me and said, "I don't know what this is, Tunde, but I have had this new surge of energy since I started." Within 12 weeks, his blood sugar was down to 5.6 from the usual 7.8. The frequent tiredness disappeared, and he stopped pricking himself with the insulin injections too. That was when we realized we had struck gold. What if we shared this in a public group and told many people my story? So we set up this website to share our secrets so others can see and get the same result and throw away their medications and start living life without restrictions again. We found groups where there were thousands of people who were tired of being struck or stuck on diabetes drugs that did nothing for them. We shared our discovery with anyone who was interested. To tell you the truth, I didn't expect it to work as well as it did, but I was completely blown away by the results. Before we knew it, the small post had created a surge of unending demand from all over, and people were texting, sending emails, and calling to have their hands on this formula. These testimonials evoked a feeling in me that I'm doing something great, and it further motivated me to let everyone try this formula. You could be one of those people today too, if you act fast enough. I have 120 bottles of this formula that I'll show you how to get in a moment. But first, I think it's high time I showed you exactly what this formula is. Dr. Viraj and his team have decided to call it Madhuhara. Now, this formula is the only all-natural blood sugar regulated formula that targets the root cause of type 2 diabetes. This formula contains the exact combination of natural phytochemicals in the proportion that research has shown to help neutralize the effect of these cytokines. These phytochemicals help to wipe the fat off the surface of your insulin receptors so your body can start using sugar normally again. And diabetes can become a thing of the past. It does this without requiring special exercise or a strict diet of any kind. It also helps you to lose weight effortlessly while skyrocketing your energy and also improving your sexual performance. Plus, it eliminates all the troubles that your doctor's medications could have cost you over the years. In case you've given up on your type 2 diabetes, Madhuhara is a solution you've never heard of. I know the question on your mind now is around the price of the product, so I'll get to that in a moment. But first, let me ask you a few questions. What would it be worth to you to never face the pain of going under the blade for amputation? What will it mean to you to finally experience the strength of your youth again and spend more time with your spouse, children and grandchildren? What will it be worth for you to never face the risk of a heart attack, a stroke, blindness and other diabetic complications? Think about it. It's not easy to place a price on this kind of freedom. And finally, you will never feel like the odd one out again. And you can keep the bunch of lucky people who think you cause your own diabetes because of your lifestyle in their place. You could eat whatever everyone else is eating at parties without the fear of sending your blood sugar through the roof. You will start enjoying uninterrupted, passionate and enjoyable sex with your better half again after so many years of growing apart. And to think about it, you don't even have to follow a special diet or do hard exercise. What is it worth? Considering how much you've spent so far just treating the symptoms of diabetes, and how much you'll still spend in the future if it continues, do you think it would be worth 200,000 to never get bedridden for the rest of your life? How about not having a leg amputated, a stroke, or losing your eyesight forever? The good news is it doesn't even cost half of this to completely reverse your type 2 diabetes and start rebuilding your life again. If this were a ploy to make a lot of money for me, I know a lot of people would be happy to pay even more than that. But this is not about the money for me. I want as many people as possible to experience what life feels like without diabetes again. Before I tell you the ridiculous price you invest to lay your hands on Madhuhara, I need to answer this question and make sure you understand what you're getting into so you don't end up disappointed. How soon can you expect results with Madhuhara? If I had to consistently take this formula for several years before I noticed a difference in my diabetes, I'm sure I wouldn't have agreed to test it at all. I was able to sleep better the very first day I took Madhuhara. My brother-in-law had to wait for a week to notice any difference. A man I met on Facebook saw his blood sugar drop from 226 to 120 in just 2 months. Madhuhara works at different speed for each person. You will notice a difference in your well-being your very first week of taking Madhuhara. And Madhuhara will completely reverse your type 2 diabetes in 3 months. Here's what I would advise. Even when you notice a great improvement in your blood sugar after you start taking these capsules, please take Madhuhara for 3 months to ensure that your diabetes goes forever. That's how long Dr. Viraj told me to take it for complete reversal. Imagine the stomach pain, the vomiting, weak performance on the bed, and low sex drive all becoming a thing of the past. What would it mean to you? How about the joy of never becoming financially, emotionally, and physically burdened to your family? Deeply think about this. What would you give to get this transformation? Research has shown that the average diabetic will spend more than 4.5 million naira over their lifetime managing diabetes and eventually develop a heart attack or a stroke if care is not taken. Most of the people I have told about Madhuhara agree they will gladly pay up to 150,000 naira to never struggle with diabetes again. But like I said earlier, this isn't about the money for me. It's about helping as many people as possible to take charge of their lives, which includes you if you act today. You will never find Madhuhara in any pharmacy you visit because it poses a great threat to their dangerous cash cows, drugs, insulin injections, and every other diabetes management product out there. Dr. Viraj even told me some big pharmaceutical companies have offered them life-changing money for exclusive right to Madhuhara, just to ensure you and every diabetic doesn't find it out. They even go as far as paying doctors and publicity companies to spread fake news about natural health products. They say they are untested and risky, something our forefathers have been using for years. Independent clinical trials have proven that this helps regulate blood sugar and can reverse insulin resistance. Anyway, I believe they can't stop you from taking action today. There are 60 easy to swallow capsules in a bottle of Madhuhara. Simply take one capsule in the morning and at night. That's all there is to it. You see a difference that's hard to miss within your first few days of taking Madhuhara. Please do not stop taking Madhuhara simply because you're getting better. Take 2 capsules a day for 3 months straight to completely reverse your diabetes. Madhuhara is not just meant to help you reverse your type 2 diabetes. It can also help you to lower your blood cholesterol, reduce your risk of developing cancer. It can also help you lower your blood pressure by significant points, and it has been tested by certified to be absolutely safe for everyone by doctors. The next 120 bottles of Madhuhara are reserved exclusively for those who watch this video, but you must act fast before everything is sold out. Madhuhara is so powerful and effective that word has already gotten out beyond expectations. Nigerian men and women are discovering this NAFDAC certified blood sugar regulator, and they are rushing to buy up to 3 bottles at a time. They don't just want to lower their blood sugar in the first month alone, they want to completely reverse their diabetes and regain their lives forever. This is what the 3-month plan will do for you if you invest in it today. I've shown some of the countless researches that prove that the natural shrubs in Madhuhara help you lower your blood sugar fast and reverse your type 2 diabetes forever. I feel proud seeing black men and women fighting back against the big diabetes conspiracy. Like I told you earlier, most people order 2 and 3 months plan. This means that we are always having more orders than the products I get from Dr. Viraj. Because of the time it takes to screen every natural shrub for quality and the long time it takes to bring Madhuhara into Nigeria, clearing and forwarding, we regularly run out of stock of Madhuhara from time to time. I would hate for that to happen to you. Imagine finally you're able to lower your blood sugar in the first month. Your wife is already feeling the way you give it to her in bed. Your energy levels are getting higher. The tingling in your hands and feet have started to disappear. But then, you come back to this website to get your remaining 2-month supply to complete your diabetes reversal. And you find a big message in the top right corner that says, out of stock. It's not even worth risking, my friend, at all. You know you really want to break free from insulin injections and drugs with horrible side effects. You wouldn't have stayed with me for this long if you weren't. I have double checked with my assistant to reserve the remaining 120 bottles for people who watch this video. As long as you are among the first people who order Madhuhara today, you can have the complete 3 months supply and never risk putting your diabetes reversal journey halfway through. And the great news is that the more you decide to invest in right now, the more you save. While Madhuhara has a normal retail price of 65,000 naira for a month's supply, which is a great discount on its own, on this website only, you will be able to order the complete 3 months plan for 75,000 naira, which is just 25,000 naira per month. The 1 month plan costs 35,000 naira and the 2 months plan only costs 55,000 naira. If you can't afford the 3 months pack at once, you can take advantage of the 1 month and the 2 months plan, which are heavily discounted too. However, I will urge you to get the 3 months as the best option. That way you save a lot of money. And you will also not worry about finding that we have completely sold out all of the bottles we have the next time you come to order. If you feel hot, urinate frequently, have strange smelling breath, or have extreme thirst, you could be about to fall into a diabetic coma as I did. What's going to happen if you don't make any changes? You will try increasing your meds with no results, and dangerous side effects like nausea, weight gain, sexual dysfunction and heart disease will keep drawing closer. In fact, 7 different multinational randomized control trials prove that diabetes drugs fail to reduce the risk of a heart disease, which is the number 1 threat that diabetics face. How about the severe fatigue? Until your final days, you'll be a burden on your family and friends. This might seem like I'm trying to scare you, and I'm sorry if it sounds like that, but it's just the truth. There is a way out of all the trouble. I've shown you the path. Only you can decide to walk the path. As they say, you can drag a horse to the river. You can't force the horse to drink from the river. This is just the best I can do for you. If you don't see this as a great option yet, then this is not meant for you. And I'm going to advise you to close this presentation. But what if everything I have said is not completely true? I understand your fears. Your doctor has probably been lying to you for years and selling you more drugs. That is why I'm excited to tell you the deal I got from Dr. Viraj. If you order Madhuhara today, you have a full 180 days to decide if it's worth your tiny investment today. That's 6 complete months. If you don't agree that this formula has helped you drop your blood sugar, simply contact me for a full refund and I will pay you from my pocket. I should tell you that this is a complete payment on delivery process. You only pay 1,000 naira commitment fee on the call with me or my assistant to weed out indecisive people. You pay the rest once you have received your order. This is to ensure that you will show up to receive your order when the delivery agent arrives. You see, your investment today is 100% risk-free, right? But before you click the link below this video to get your own supply of the Madhuhara, I should tell you about the exclusive gift I'll be sending with your order today. Conservatively, I'll say it's worth 250,000 naira. Now, what am I talking about? It's a lifestyle diabetes reversal guide by one of the foremost diabetes specialists in Nigeria. She charges 75,000 naira per hour for consultation on diabetes, and she is always booked at least for 6 months in advance. It took a lot of time before we could get her to compile the ideal lifestyle guide to help older people banish type 2 diabetes. When you combine Madhuhara with the information in this lifestyle guide, you will drastically cut the time it takes to get your blood sugar under control. Inside this guide, you will find an easy to follow lifestyle practice to regulate your blood sugar and stay strong till old age. You will find everything from sleep to exercise to diet and every lifestyle improvement that could speed up your diabetes reversal journey. It took her 2 months to finish this guide and make it comprehensive and simple enough for anybody to follow. Even if she worked on the guide for only 4 hours, which is not true, this guide is still worth more than 250,000 naira because she charges 75,000 naira an hour for consultation. Now, I'm going to give you instant access to this lifestyle guide with your order today. This guide alone is worth more than the amount you are investing in Madhuhara today. But this isn't about the money like I said earlier. I want to help you get back to a life where you don't have to worry about your blood sugar again. The time to act is now, my friend. You already think there's an element of truth in what I'm saying by watching this video. Why not allow me to prove it to you at my own risk? Click the link below and fill out the form that pops up. My assistant will contact you to take your order and ask for a deposit of 1,000 naira only. Now, just before I round up my presentation, I should remind you that people are buying the 3 months bottle and they are paying for their friends and loved ones. If you want to get some bottles for yourself today, you should act now while you are watching this video. I can't guarantee how long the supply will last, but what I can guarantee is that if you try out Madhuhara today, your doctor will be surprised at your test results in a few weeks' time. It will get to a point he will have no choice but to completely take you off your drugs. He might even ask that you tell him what you're using like my doctor did. But that's not the real reason why you're doing this. Decisions like this are what we make for our family. You have the opportunity a lot of people never had in front of you today. Will you take it or let it slip and continue doing trial and error that big pharmaceutical companies want you to do? Your decision is completely up to you. Click the link below and fill out the simple form to order. Research has shown that diabetes is the leading cause of blindness among old people today. Diabetes is the leading cause of blindness in adults, WHO. More people are dying while the diabetes industry is growing by billions every year. I don't want to be just another number among people who lose their life from diabetes. I know you don't want to be that too. Take action backed by my 6-month complete refund policy today. Select a package that suits your budget below. Still here? I thought you would love to hear from more people who have completely altered the course of their lives because they use Madhuhara like you are about to. Take a look at Mr. Tomiwa Dagundoro. Mrs. Ijoma from Abia State also said that, after being a diabetic for many years, I'm happy to report that, thanks to Madhuhara, my blood tests are now showing that I'm officially diabetes free. Mrs. Ogochukwu said, her blood sugar level dropped from 172 to 123. She now sleeps better and feels more energized. After Mr. Kenneth got tired of constantly increasing his dosages, he tried Madhuhara and said his blood sugar dropped from 6.9 to 5.7 in the first 3 weeks. And more and more. Again, it's easy to place your risk-free order today. Simply click the link below and select the package that suits your budget. We will swiftly process your order and you'll receive it within 3 days no matter where you are in Nigeria. Don't forget, there are only 120 bottles of Madhuhara left as you watch this presentation, and I can't guarantee that they'll still be in stock if you don't place your order right away. Click the link below and fill the form that pops up. I can't wait to add your testimonial to the hundreds I have in my inbox right now in the next 90 days.